we recognize there are a lot of shortcomings with autonomous vehicles that we don't know yet. Now, when you combine artificial intelligence with autonomous vehicles, autonomous trucks, I'm thinking of one of these movie scenarios where suddenly trucks have gone mad.
Yeah.
And, can it happen? And God, I certainly hope not.
Landline Now, welcome back. You're probably aware of OOIDA's mission statement, fighting for the rights of all truckers, and there's been plenty to fight about in recent months when it comes to regulations and rules and the like, so we thought it might be a good idea to check in with the people pulling the strings at the association when it comes to laying out the battle plan, and that means turning to the execs at OOIDA, and for that, we turn to Lewie Pugh, Executive Vice President, and Todd Spencer, President and CEO of the association. Todd, Lewie, good to see you.
Hey, great to be here.
Always a pleasure.
Great to have you as always. We're going to kind of jump around a number of topics here, and I want to start by asking you about a topic I'm kind of equal parts fascinated by and terrified by, artificial intelligence. We were talking earlier about this. This is timely because the DOT just recently asked for feedback about possible applications in trucking. OOIDA did provide some comments here. I've got concerns. I know you guys have concerns as well, too, about where this may be headed. We were talking, this could be good, could be really bad, too. And that's kind of where I think we're all kind of at right now, right?
Yeah.
With applications.
Well, obviously, it's an area that it's not terribly, well, it's easy to be uncomfortable with simply because it's the unknown. Now, having said that, we're surrounded by sort of artificial intelligence every day in that its applications have been going on for quite a while with navigation systems and when you call and talk to Siri, who do you think you're talking to?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been there and it is evolving into our society. Having said that, the future for all of this is, for us, it's a source of anxiety, in that, we've been hearing about autonomous trucks, autonomous vehicles for a while, and of course, our folks are more likely to be victimized by this stuff than they are to benefit from it.
Yeah.
I mean, as truck drivers. So, and now, when we recognize there are a lot of shortcomings with autonomous vehicles that we don't know yet. Now, when you combine artificial intelligence with autonomous vehicles, autonomous trucks, I'm thinking of one of these movie scenarios where suddenly trucks have gone mad.
Yeah. And,
can it happen? And God, I certainly hope not.
Maximum overdrive, baby.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they go bad, but my concern is that the humans are going to go bad when it comes to AI and the applications. I mean, there are some good things here, I think, with regard to, where loads are going, and artificial intelligence can kind of help out with that kind of thing. But the concerns here are, I think, also rushing into it, which is what OOIDA's comments, your comments, essentially told DOT here, is that, hey, let's take a step back and make sure we're doing this the right way, right?
Yeah, it seems to be the way they like to do things, is rush into them then, clean up the mess afterwards. And unfortunately, the trucker's the one who pays the price. And I think, again, all this stuff, there's good, there's bad. I agree that the people can do bad things with it, but the machines probably can't. Or there's people who can do bad things with artificial intelligence. I think it's going to give, one can argue it'll give a trucker an advantage because you kind of know where freight volumes are moving and stuff, but it also puts you at a disadvantage because brokers and stuff are also going to know where freight's moving and how many trucks are in an area, and which, they're already using forms and fashions of tracking and stuff like that to kind of, and that they're using that to set rates and stuff like that, whether they want to admit it or not.
Yeah.
I just, and the whole AV stuff is scary. And I think Todd brings it, Todd brought up the point, if we talk to Siri and we use our GPSs and these kind of things. And the important thing to remember is these things are not always right or they don't always work correctly. So that to me is the scary thing in AV and everything. I use the example a lot. I can't get my Bluetooth phone to connect to my truck half the dang time.
Yeah.
And that seems like that should be pretty basic technology.
Which is something you brought up in a hearing in the U.S. House recently, which we're going to talk about as well. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a slippery slope here when we're talking about AI. That's a concern.
You know, on that subject, before we leave it,
yeah.
You know, technology is much more easily adaptable to younger people. But I remember once hearing the numbers of people that had disc players, DVRs, sitting on tops of their TVs in the day, and how many of them spent their whole lives blinking 12 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because people couldn't even figure out how to set that time.
Right.
So,
yeah. Well,
that's where we are. So the gap between actual intelligence and artificial intelligence is pretty darn broad.
Lewie, you wanna drop your joke now?
What about
artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know much about intelligence at all.
Yeah. Again, it's a slippery slope here, and the concerns that everybody has about this thing, you know, AI taking other people's jobs, obviously is a concern in the trucking industry as well. But I think the advice that you gave DOT in the comments, essentially, to hey, let's take a step back, make sure we are doing this in the name of safety and not making problems worse.
They can't even get this voice to text stuff to talk hillbilly Harrison County. So what the heck?
Well, they're getting to work on that. That's coming next for sure. Let's shift to another topic here: predatory towing, another issue that OOIDA submitted comments on to FMCSA recently. FMCSA, we've talked about this. They're looking into this issue now. The association providing half a dozen examples of excessive fees tacked onto towing bills in the comments there. We've seen FMCSA, they've had listening sessions. They're getting feedback on this. It feels like to me, and I'm sure you're going to agree here, but it feels like they've got enough examples now of what the landscape is out there and the problem is. I'm curious what you guys think here about the process that's playing out. I'm encouraged that they're getting feedback, but I also wonder where we're headed here. I feel like they've got enough information, but what do I know?
Well, I'll start by saying, first of all, I agree. There's plenty of information, plenty of examples out there of bad towing companies. And there's even some towers out there that, you know, that will admit that there's bad towing companies. This is a thing, though, where truckers, where I feel, because we saw this in a hearing a few weeks ago, there was 100 times more towers there than there was people representing trucking.
Yeah.
And there's lots and lots more comments from towing companies than truckers. This is one of these deals that never harms you until it's too late. And this is where truckers need to really get proactive, because you never know when you're going to be the one who has to have one of these kind of tows. And we hope, God forbid, nobody has them, but that it's a real thing, and it can put you out of business. I mean, we literally had a towing bill come in here a few weeks ago with a heat and humidity charge of $9,000. Now, you want to talk about a bullshit fee. $9,000. Ain't no trucker getting $9,000 fee for being out in the heat and humidity loading a load of freight. But yet they are for these towing. So this is really where truckers, so that's my concern here. And what we're seeing right now is towers have kind of got their stuff together and they're joining forces. And of course, OOIDA has been pretty successful in a few states of getting this stopped on a state. But even there, the towers have kind of all over the place, but they're kind of getting their game together. And the only way we're going to stop this is truckers got to be proactive and get on this. And when we have these listening sessions and stuff, or they ask for comments, file them. Because where we're seeing this going, I'm afraid, is they're going to go after insurance or something like that, which will make your insurance rates skyrocket.
Yeah.
Todd?
It's ridiculous. You know, and you know what we have in common is that, you know, people that drive automobiles are victimized by some of this crap sometimes too, and oftentimes these things are sort of organized where folks can take full advantage of, and you know, the people that make money from towing, they're like many other businesses. They are interested in maximizing the revenues, the profits that they make from what they do, and if it comes at your expense, well, from their perspective, tough luck. And pointing to the insurance company, okay, well, that's an easy thing to do, but a ripoff is just a ripoff. And when in instances where people are clearly taking advantage of others, then there's a role for government to step in here and should, because again, you can't really protect yourself from being taken advantage of in an unfortunate situation. And as Lewie said, through the years, we've seen lots and lots and lots of our members actually lose their trucks completely simply because of a situation where they were taken advantage of.
Yeah, there's laws out there in certain states where the towing company has to be made whole before the trucker gets anything. So even if you don't, they take all the insurance money. And look, I get it. A big rotator truck costs, $1 million. And it's expensive. Yeah. It's expensive to have this type of equipment. But to take advantage of people just because you have the opportunity, that isn't right either. I mean, I know for a fact there's a tower here in the state of Missouri. They double their rates when they get called out on one of these calls.
Yeah. What trips me up too, and I was thinking about this as you guys were talking about, during that hearing that FMCSA hosted a few weeks ago, there was one representative of the towing industry who essentially acknowledged that they aren't getting compensated for some of the tows, and they're passing on that cost to the next guy that comes along. Clearly, the system is broken, and as you mentioned, Todd, government has a role here to step in and do something. I don't get the sense that FMCSA knows what they can or should be doing right now.
Well, I think that's true.
Yeah. Okay.
What's new?
Or what they can do.
Yes, that's my point.
But we've clearly identified an area that that actually needs further attention. So
we'll see. Yeah, I to your point, Lewie, the more truckers can speak out about this, call your representatives in Congress and make sure they're aware of this issue and keep calling and keep letting them know, because honestly, Congress is probably the place where change is most easily going to come by, I would imagine. But
exactly. And keep in mind, this isn't any kind of legislation or anything toward a tow where you as a trucker call a towing company and ask them to come tow your vehicle because you broke down or something like this. This is where when there's an accident or something like this, State Highway Patrol or emergency personnel or DOT, they call the tower. They come out and get your truck because you've been involved in an accident or something and they need to clear their highway. So you didn't get a choice. You didn't get a chance to bargain or talk about what the rates were going to be. You got told this is who's coming to get your truck, and these people then have the right to charge you whatever they want, and there's no checks and balances in the situation. And that's the important thing to realize here.
Real quick here, we don't have a whole lot of time, but I did mention you testifying before the House Highways and Transit Subcommittee at the end of July, Lewie. Had a lot of good exchanges there. You did talk about predatory towing. You did talk about your phone not able to recognize what you're saying half the time. Those kinds of things obviously highlight these issues that we're talking about. But were there any, from your sense in talking and meeting with lawmakers there, any of these issues that are kind of gaining more traction than others, perhaps?
I think speed limiters are.
Okay.
Which is a good thing. There was some questions about speed limiters and stuff like that. Just over-regulation of trucking in general and how some of these ABs and some of this stuff doesn't really help truckers at all. Driver pay, the concern, of drivers not being compensated correctly, some of that stuff come up as well. The fact that this is a hard job. I do think that some in Congress, talking about intelligence, but some in Congress it's starting to realize that this whole driver narrative bullshit that ATA has been pushing for years and years and years is bullshit. So they're kind of realizing and trying to figure out why we have a retention problem and instead of a shortage problem.
It does seem like that narrative is kind of dying down.
Yes, a little
Finally,
bit.
Todd, you've been waiting, right?
It's only been 40 years.
Only been 40 years. Hey, we got there, right? We'll see how it goes. Lewie, Todd, always appreciate it. Always a good talk, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've got a quick break coming up fast, but stick around. There's more Landline Now coming.